Hello, everybody. Good day. It is Charles Emmanuel, number one best-selling author of The Diamond in Your Closet, and I'm the co-host of the Zero to Hero Summit. Today, we've got an amazing guest, and I'm telling you, he is someone you want to listen to. The first time I heard him speak, I thought to myself, my goodness, my goodness, what a speaker. And not just the way he speaks or the mannerism, but the content is something you can't even imagine. I'm telling you. Today we've got Pastor Derek Schneider with us here. And Pastor Derek is an apostolic leader, international speaker, advisor to pastors and leaders on ministry and church growth. He's an execution strategist, a trainer and coach, an author, an entrepreneur, and a TV personality. And you've got the pleasure to hear him speak today. He's going to be telling us about what it really takes to move from zero to become a hero in life. And interestingly, he's also the president and founder of History Makers Academy. So he's going to tell us what it takes to become a history maker too. So let's get to Pastor Derek. Good day, sir.
Good day, Charles. Wonderful to be with you, and especially greetings to everybody that's watching this powerful program. So thank you for having me with you.
Thank you so much for accepting. I can't wait for us to dive into the meat of the matter.
Hey, man. Well, I'm ready for that. Let's do it, my brother.
So first of all, sir, for those who haven't met you and those who don't know you just yet, would you just tell us a little bit about you, who you are, and what you do, sir?
Well, you know, Charles, I was a pastor for over 10 years. I'm still a pastor, but I founded the History Makers Academy. I'm the president of History Makers Academy, and we train and equip ordinary individuals to experience extraordinary success and fruitfulness in their lives and ministries. Then I'm also the founder of the History Makers Society, which is an umbrella organization that essentially helps graduates of the academy and whoever wants to grow to actually be able to exceed their potential, to go beyond what they ever thought possible. We give them cover, give them equipment, the tools to do it, and we essentially inject these history makers into every level of society in various nations that we are presently in. So I'm also an author. I write curriculums, books, and also I'm the host of a television show named after my book called Beyond the Four Walls with Derek Schneider, where we actually go live with a camera crew, not live, but we film the work that's happening around the world that's beyond the four walls of the church. So I'm a bit of a busy guy, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Amazing. That's why I was so grateful for the opportunity to have you here with us. Now, as at the last count, I remember that your organization has been reaching well over 250,000 people, and I like to for you to just share with the audience, what would you say has been the secret of that success? To reach 200, in fact, to reach 200 people in this age and time is in itself a miracle already. Now to go all the way to 250,000 different people, that's 250,000 destinies. What would you say is the secret? How did you get there?
Well, you know, Charles, there are many ways to answer that question, and one of them is I want to say that I stopped relying on prayer alone to do it. I'm sorry to say that if that rocks some people's theology out there, but I'm a praying man. I believe in prayer and all of that. But I learned the power of system building and being able to train and equip leaders to systematically send them. I call it systematic sending. So we used History Makers Academy as a platform to send individuals. And I would word it to you this way. We help them to discover their calling and purpose because they're going to do it better than any of us can do. And then we strategically launch them into that place of society where they are called to function best. They're wired for that. When that happened, they began to just explode onto the scene in their place of calling. And the results were incredible. So they started reaching this many people, that many people. And we would get these reports of literally people planted where they're called to be planted, and they would start to get results. For example, one of our graduates, Marguerite McLeod, she said, you know, right now she's written a curriculum that is being used by the United Nations. It's now in over 30 countries in under 1 year's time. She was one of our
Wow.
graduates. And she said, I was sitting in church all these years waiting for release. Can you imagine? It's like prison talk, waiting for release. And so what History Makers does is we say, hey, come through our 3.5-day intensive and we'll give you release. We'll set you free. So she still attends church. She still, you know, goes to church when she can, but she is effective. So we just reproduce this systematic process. We have a system from start to finish, and we just reproduce it in various cities and nations.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. You know, when you were talking about what you do, you stated that you help ordinary people experience extraordinary success or live extraordinary lives. I want to find out that what I deduce from that is that ordinary people can actually live extraordinary lives. So
Yes.
would you tell our audience what would it take for an ordinary person, somebody who thinks that is the least of the lot, somebody who thinks that there's nothing special about him or his life? What would it take for such a person to rise through the ranks and live an extraordinary life?
Well, I think the first thing I would comment on is that God has put extraordinary potential in every human being. So every human being is qualified for extraordinary potential. That seed of greatness has been placed within you. However, the ability to experience the fullness of that potential has to do with what you know and what pain and trial you're able to overcome. What you know and what pain and trial you're able to overcome. And so what often happens is we create a comfort-based culture. We create an environment based on comfort, and we live in it. And that is our place of comfort. However, you need to be suspicious of comfort, because comfort is not necessarily bringing the best out of you. In fact, history shows us it's pressure, pain, trial, and your ability to overcome it that makes you a history maker. Every history maker, every person that exceeds beyond the general mediocre mass, as we call it, they have had some kind of crisis or trial in their background that they chose to overcome. In the overcoming of that trial or crisis, it created a thick skin or an unusual tenacity that literally propels them into their place of calling. So most people, when they approach that place of discomfort, which is really what is required to achieve your calling, it's bigger than you. Most people shrink back to their comfortable environment. We at History Makers teach people to embrace the trials and pressures of life and let them be a platform for you to be launched into your purpose. The ability to overcome problems makes you a great and significant person and a person of value to mankind.
Amazing, amazing. So, you know, I often speak with a couple of people in the line of training them and helping them walk through life's difficulties. And I meet people who say that they think that the problems they are going through is either not theirs or is just too much for them to bear. Sometimes life happens, things get so tough, and like somebody would say, it looks like the devil has made his life his headquarters. So what would you say to somebody who thinks that his own problems are beyond surmountable? He thinks that these problems were designed to just keep him down, and he doesn't know what to do to rise above that problem. What would you advise the person to do?
Well, you know, I personally believe we give the devil far too much credit. And I remember when I went through my own situation, that was what I believed was insurmountable, beyond me, beyond my capacity. And I remember at the height of that, and we all know, anybody who's gone through something as awful as, you know, whatever it is, life crisis, they know that you really believe you aren't going to get back up off that floor. And I remember God spoke to me. His voice broke into that situation, and he said the following: there is nothing that you're going through that I have not allowed, and there is nothing that you're going through that is beyond my control. And it was at that moment that I realized, okay, if God is allowing this, because he can stop it, he's not going to kill me, he can stop it. If he's allowing it, there must be some kind of purpose or strategy in what I'm going through. That gave me a little more strength, I would say, to meet the challenge head on. And what it did was it shifted my capacity. It shifted my endurance capacity. It was a point of no return that I was either going to crumble under or I was going to shift capacity. And we see this in a good example of this in the life of Jesus Christ and Peter. When Peter said, Master, we've been fishing all night and we're getting no results. Jesus says, cast your nets on the other side. And the moment they do that, the nets break. This is a great picture of shattered capacity, where God will actually put you in situations designed to shatter your current infrastructure, your current capacity. Literally, the whole thing falls apart and you are left, and this is exactly where God wants you. And if you can muster up the faith to move forward, you will see God is only shifting you to the next level. If you want to become a number, if you think you've hit, I'm at number 10, and I'm a 10, I've gone from 1 to 10. Well, you want to be an 11, you got to go back to 1. You want to be a 20, you've got to go back to 21. You got to go back to 1. And God will shift your capacity, and he uses problems, pressures, and trials to do it. And what that does is it pulls out of you the power of breaking point, where finally his strength is activated through your weakness. Literally, God's capacity is activated through your broken capacity. So that's why at History Makers, we have so many astonishing stories. And the problem we have is that people don't believe that it could be true. 250,000 people reached in under 2 years. Well, I think I know somebody who's done more than that. Pastor Sunday and my mentors, I've seen them do it. And to my shock, we're seeing it now in our ministry as well.
Awesome. Yeah, by the way, we have Pastor Sunday on this summit as well. You'll be blown away to hear from him. I'm telling you, it's gonna be an awesome time. I mean, that's someone who's not only made a success of his life, but he's raised others to make significant success out of their lives. Wow. Thank you so much, Pastor. You did talk about the importance of raising people and then sending them out to go and reign and dominate where they are called, so that people are not like square pegs in round holes. So I want to find out, for someone who is trying to say, but I don't know what I'm called to do, and I've tried to read up some books or some articles, watch some videos. I was even more confused than I was before I tried. What would be your strategy for helping such a person to discover what he's called to do?
You know, Charles, I'm a little unorthodox with what I will say here, but I have experience and results to back up what I'm about to say. But
that's what matters.
That's what matters. You know, I always tell people, don't wait for an angel to come down and tell you what to do. And there are times where you don't even wait for God to tell you what to do. I tell people, do what you love to do. Do what you're passionate about doing, and solve a problem. You were born to solve a problem in this world. Choose a problem that you're passionate about and begin to serve that problem. Serve that problem with your gift, what you have been wired to do. It's in the getting going and just starting to do something that you begin to see astonishing results. When you wait for somebody to take you by the hand, you might be waiting a long time. Begin to do something. What do you love to do? Start doing it, and your destiny really will chase you down if you can get active. And that's the problem with the way the church culture we have created in this current Reformation, is that we've created an atmosphere of coming, sitting, listening, leaving. And in reality, it locks up people's destiny and purpose because they're inactive. We've created an inactive waiting room. And so I always say to people, you know, pick something you love to do, begin to do it, study, learn all about how to, you know, start a project, start a program, and serve your gift. You were born to do something significant. So I try not to make it so complicated. What are you gifted to do? Begin to serve your gift, and you will see God will do extraordinary things through you.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So, sir, for someone who has taken this step already and is already in the process, serving with his gift, is doing something, but somewhere along the line he meets with failure or disappointment, and is kind of beginning to feel discouraged and wondering whether it's worth it after all. What would be your advice to such a person? How can the person move past that failure or disappointment?
Well, I think it's to have a proper perspective on failure. I don't see failure as a finish line.
Yes, sir.
And that should be profound for someone who's heard that right now. I don't see failure as a finish line. I see it as an incredible opportunity and stepping stone. Whether you're Thomas Edison, who failed 999 times in trying to invent the light bulb, you know, failure is actually what forms the endurance necessary for greatness. You actually cannot have progress without resistance. So failure and shortcoming and problems literally are your best friends, because they're what's forming your ability to overcome those situations, is what's forming resilience in you that will give you unusual success. That's the difference. The difference between a successful person and a mediocre person is in their ability to overcome challenges. And so I have made mistakes. I have had shortcomings. I've had failures. And every single time I have come out the other side, launched to a higher platform. So now I receive problems and challenges as a big flashing green light, or a big waving flag that on the other side, I'm going to leverage this thing. And on the other side, I'm going to come out as gold. Let me give you just a small example of this. This happened recently. I had an impossible full week filming schedule plus conference out in another part of Canada. And right in the middle of it, the night, one evening, I received some disastrous news. Somebody was saying something about me. It wasn't true. They were spreading it. And it was deeply, deeply painful. And it hurt me in the heart. We all know what that's like to go through, especially when it's not true and you have no way of putting out the fires. And this thing hit me so hard, I considered, you know what, I should cancel the filming day tomorrow. I've got to deal with this. Maybe I should pray and intercede about this situation. And I was ready to take a day off of the filming schedule. When I got up in the morning, I said, just a second. I am going to film even more episodes today. I'm going to just, and I said to my assistant, I'm going to own today, and I'm going to punish Satan for what he did to me as of yesterday. Do you know, I don't know where the energy came from, Charles. We flew through every episode. We filmed the most episodes on that day. And the people who had gathered to be the live studio audience said, we have never seen somebody so fire, so consistent, so, and I took it as another life lesson that you can leverage pain to be something that propels you into destiny and into the greater that is in you.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Like today, what would you say are those traits, those habits, or things that you have imbibed as a person that has brought you this far?
Absolutely. I would say I'm passionate about what I do. I love to do it. So that's important. I get up every day excited to do what I do. Secondly, I'm totally committed to my relationship with God. God is my source. Even if I didn't have a ministry, I want to hang around him to become like him. And that's, of course, the secret to fruitfulness. Thirdly, I would say I'm very conscious of time and detail oriented. I had to learn to respect time. and to respect details. Fourthly, I would say there is no project that I endeavor upon that I do not first do the mental labor. So 70% of all projects, the work involved should be mental work in the form of system building and planning. So I always plan and map out what I'm going to do before I begin. I think the next thing I would say is I love people. I love to serve people. I love to build teams. I love to work with people. I'm passionate about seeing people come into their destiny and their calling. And so some of these things are traits that history makers need. And then again, the ability to get up off the ground. Trust me, if you're in leadership, significant leadership for any length of time, you will discover the ability to get up off the ground is what's going to keep you going. If you remember this phrase, those who are listening, if you don't quit, you win. If you don't quit, you win. And so those are some traits, as well as I map out life plans. I set a 5-year plan, 10-year plan. We teach how to do this. And then also I would touch on three areas that I cultivate, which I believe are 3 success economies to dominate the earth. One would be prayer. I have a prayer life, and I don't break that principle for anybody or any form of success. Number 2 would be money. You've got to manage money well, because money is an economy in the earth realm that can get the job done. Money can do in 10 minutes what can take you 2 years of prayer. If you can develop strong partnership base, and if you know how to count your, if you don't count your dollars and cents, you won't count your riches. And so God will test you in how you steward your finances. That's a big one. The third economy that I think is just so crucial is your ability to be relational and to manage relationships. Relationships is the most powerful economy in the earth realm. Again, meeting the right person and making a connection with them can do in moments what can take you years in prayer.
Absolutely.
So the ability to recognize who God has brought into your life and how to leverage those relationships. So a couple other pointers I would give is I'm an opportunist in a good way. I can spot opportunities. I can spot opportunities for partnership. I can spot opportunities to generate income. And that was one of the things when people ask me about my relationship with Pastor Sunday, and they say, so many people were coming and going, visiting Kiev over the last number of years, but you seem to be able to really maximize what happened there. I always say, I saw an opportunity to be mentored, and I threw myself into that opportunity just to the maximum. So I always tell people to be able to recognize the gift of God in other people and how you can partner with them. So that's one of the things, again, that happened with Peter when the nets broke. It says that Peter called to his partners to come and help him bring in the abundance of fish. God wants to give you a huge platform, massive ministry. Everything about God is more, bigger. But if you don't have right relationships, and if you don't have the proper network in place and aren't a relational person, if you don't have time for relationships, you don't have time for resources. And that's just the reality. And so the next thing I would say is the ability to be mentored. Lots of people want to mentor, but few people have the ability to be mentored. They don't know how to get close to somebody who has what they need. And that was something I worked on over the last 10 years with, namely, Sunday at Elijah. Is, you can't imagine the money I spent traveling back and forth, carrying bags, being good at developing relationship with a person's PA, their personal assistant. I've watched people absolutely remove themselves from the presence of a potential mentor because they couldn't get along with his PA.
that is so true.
And so you've got to live it. Your character and your ability to be relational is absolutely key to opening doors in the earth realm. So those are a few things. I mean, I could expand on all of those for so long, but hopefully, this is being recorded so people can go back and touch on it.
Wow. And you have just released the bombshell. you said so much in just such a little window of time. And this subject of mentorship is something that's been coming up over and over again. Now, we've interviewed a few other people and they keep mentioning this. And most people have this idea that, well, whoever they want to mentor them is up there, up so high, and they have no idea how they can ever get close or get to even relate to meet with the person and all that. But I think something that you shared that makes a lot of point is being able to relate with their personal assistants. I think that makes a lot of difference. It makes a lot of difference because for most people, it is the man in quote they want to relate with. Yeah, I think that's a big one there.
Well, I had a mentor. I have a mentor for different areas of my life, and I had a mentor. He said to me one time, just off the cuff, he said, Derek, if you want to connect with the man or woman of God, I'll give you some advice. Connect well, build relationship with their PA. And I took that seriously, and I liked Pastor Sunday's PA. I've enjoyed all of his PAs, and so that wasn't difficult. But I realized, being relatable and having what's called emotional intelligence, EQ, being aware, many people have IQ but lack in EQ. And in the business world, and really in the success world, they're discovering that EQ is a little bit of more importance because all can graduate from Harvard with a business degree and the same marks. Who's going to be hired? If we've all got the same marks and high IQ, the person with the greatest emotional intelligence and presence in that boardroom is going to be the one who's hired. Wow. And so we always have to be working on ourselves so that our personal presence opens doors. And the Bible alludes to this in the wisdom books. Do you see a man that excels in his work? He will be brought before kings. Yeah. You've got to become an excellent person, and doors will open for you. And so that requires the constant working on yourself. And I believe, as far as a man or woman of God being up there and unreachable, I don't believe any person is beyond reach. Any person can be reached. And you're usually 6 people away from reaching that person. And but I more want, Lord, what are some strategic relationships that I need? So, for example, in my own country of Canada, I said, Lord, I cannot change an environment that I have been formed in. I need a mentor from outside of Canada. And to my shock, it became a Nigerian man living in Ukraine. And he was so vastly different from our Canadian Christian culture that I just said, I need to get around him as much as possible, have my environment reformed, and go back into my culture with superior principles and reality. And that's exactly what I did. I became a wrecking ball in every country I go into. And, this is the value of a mentor. So I made that my pursuit. And many people ask me about what are keys even to growing in mentorship with somebody. And, I'd love to be able to share those sometime. Those are very valuable.
Wow, we must make way for that to be shared. I'm sure it's definitely valuable. And just before we begin to round up, you touched on something that I'd like us to expand a little, and that's the importance of planning. Earlier you did mention that you discovered that you needed to do more than prayer to get where you are, and too many people, especially as a way to back up their laziness, depend on prayer alone. And you're saying that planning is key. It's so much key that, in fact, 70% of the work actually lies in the planning phase. So if someone is saying that planning is too cumbersome, I don't know where to begin from. How do I plan? How can I sit here and be projecting 5 years? I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. So what's the essence? What would you advise such a person to do?
Well, you know, sometimes it's possible to pray too much and to slide into committing the sin of irresponsibility. And right from the Garden of Eden, God was trying to get Adam to do some things that God could do. And he was getting Adam to name the animals and all of that. And, you know, as far as organizing and being strategic, I'm going to let a Harvard study speak for itself here for a moment. Harvard did a study of graduates from a business program, and the majority of the graduates, I don't have the exact statistics on me, but the majority of the graduates had some vague idea of what they wanted to do, but they didn't write it down in an organized way. So that's my key phrase there, write it down in an organized way. They didn't do that. Then there was a second category, a little smaller than the majority, and they had a clear goal in their mind. This is where most Christians are. They've got a dream, vision, prophecy, idea. And where we falter is, why write it down? God knows. God, by his grace, you know, the Lord knows when my coming and going and all of that. My goodness, what chains of religion, brother. And so that group that graduated with some understanding and a goal, at least in their heads, they had a certain success rate years later. There was a small segment of this Harvard business group that graduated having written down their goal in an organized way. If you can believe it, 10 years later, when the study concluded, the small percentage, it was maybe like 5% or something, that had written it down in a clear, organized way, were making, on average, 10 times as much as the rest of the class put together. This is a true study that was done. Can you imagine? All they did was write it down in an organized way. If you don't have time to write something down, you don't have time. If you can't manage the outline of a plan on paper, you won't be able to manage that success anyways when it comes.
Wow.
You'll be bleeding out all sides. And so I always tell people, write down your best attempt at what you would like to see it be, and you will be shocked as the entire universe stands at attention to help you accomplish that goal. There's something about writing it down. And for those out there who need a scripture, Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2, record the vision so the messenger may run. Write that thing down. I view it as an act of faith that God is able to honor. I don't view it as trying to see, you know, God doing something and waiting for him to give me permission. I write it down, and I believe God just comes in and begins to bless my steps as I go. That's a little different than the way we've been taught, though, I'm sorry to say.
So true, so true. That is so true, so true. In fact, for most people, even for planning, we depend on God to give us a plan. You know, I remember someone was talking about the fact that, well, but Moses didn't have to plan the tabernacle. I mean, he just waited and God gave him the picture of the tabernacle. He just came down with a plan, you know, and he gave it to the people and they began building. You know, but I think that they need to understand there's a difference between a vision and a plan.
Absolutely. And if God gives you a plan, follow it. You know, if he shows you something, follow it. But if he hasn't, you know, if you have a strong relationship with your Father, your Heavenly Father, go and do. He wants to bless the plans of your hands. The Bible also says that if there is, when a wise king, before he goes out to war, will count the cost. Or before building a house, that person will count the cost and identify whether they have the resources and what the plan is to accomplish building that house. So this comes under the wisdom factor. This isn't the revelatory factor. And I'll just throw this out there. This isn't under the umbrella of revelation. This is under the umbrella of wisdom. And so I see destiny and walking out your purpose as coming under the wisdom realm. That's why unsaved people who don't know God, the heathens, are building and establishing things on the earth faster than we are.
Yes,
While
sir.
you're waiting for a word from God, while you're processing your revelation, while you're doing your intercession and all of that, the unsaved are building and changing laws. They're impacting nations. The reality is we have to be the Daniels of this world, the Josephs. Joseph didn't manage an entire nation of the greatest nation of the then known world because he had a prayer life. He didn't manage that nation because he was righteous. He knew something about national transformation and how to govern a nation even in a time of famine. He understood economics. Come on, church, we've got to be smarter.
My goodness. Wow. Thank you so much, sir. I'm certain that the audience right now are drooling for more. They want to learn more and get to interact with you a bit more. So I'd like to find out, where can they find you?
Oh, please get in touch. I'll give you my personal website is derekschneider.ca. And that's derekschneider.ca. We've got videos, blogs, everything on there as well. Historymakersacademy.com. That website is just in overhaul right now as we're going to the next level. And then as well, you can find me on Facebook, Derek Schneider. I've got fan page, my own personal page. And then you can reach out to me at derek@historymakersacademy.com. Derek, DEREK, at historymakersacademy.com. I'd love to hear from you. We're doing things all over the world. Don't wait for me to find you. Come find me, and we will help you be launched into destiny and purpose before the return of Jesus Christ.
Awesome. So, and I'm aware of your book. I know there's another one coming because I was following you on social media recently where you were making some. You had a post about it. But yeah, I'd like to know, where can they find your book, whether the one that is out already or the one that is on the way?
Well, the one that is out already, Beyond the Four Walls, is available on Amazon.com. And then the one that's coming out called His Kingdom, Your Purpose, it's literally in print now. We're about to receive it in the next few weeks, and then I believe it will be on Amazon.com. Keep up with my website and Facebook for more information on that. But that also comes in a curriculum form for people who want to start transformation councils, small groups of people who are impacting society. The His Kingdom, Your Purpose curriculum and book is actually what we use to train people over 18 weeks to launch them into their purpose, which is the secret behind how we reached 250,000 people, which now is over 300,000 people, by the way. We did it through this series of training that comes after the History Makers 3-day experience. And we'll just be on the lookout. His Kingdom, Your Purpose. And by the way, we do touch on the subject of organized thinking, which is the secret behind being able to even think in a way that you can put on paper and get the results that we were talking about.
Amazing guys. I'm sure you got a lot from this interview. I have learned a lot myself, and then don't worry, every link mentioned will be just below this video. You can get them there and then do well to get those books for yourself. You'll be glad you did. Thank you so much, Pastor Derek. It's been a wonderful time. Any last words or last sentences, last statements for the people just before we round up?
You know, I would just encourage you with what was said to me a long time ago, that you have greatness within you. You just needed the right environment to bring it out of you.
Wow.
I didn't know how limiting my environment had been until I learned to create an environment around me that brought greatness out. So God bless you. Believe in yourself. Believe in God, but also what God has put in you, and create environments that bring the best out of you. It's been a pleasure being with you, Charles, and all of those that are watching. I hope we can do it again soon.
Yes, sir. We definitely will. Thank you so much for your time as well. It's a pleasure. I can see why technology was trying to hinder this in the beginning. There was a whole lot coming, but thank God we made it happen.
In Jesus' name, when two agree.
Yes, all right, guys, there you have it. And I look forward to seeing you again on the other sessions. And until then, you don't give up on your dreams, because this world needs that solution that only you were born to offer. So bye-bye for now.